The moment Dayo Odeyingbo went down in Week 9, everything changed for this Chicago Bears season. Welcome back to Bears News Fan Report, your home for the most up-to-date news, insider analysis, and exclusive breakdowns on our beloved Chicago Bears. I'm bringing you information today that could completely reshape our defensive identity for the remainder of this season and potentially alter our playoff trajectory. What I'm about to discuss involves one of the most feared pass rushers in the entire NFL, a player whose name has been circulating in conversations around Hollis Hall, and a potential move that would send shockwaves through the NFC North. Stay with me because by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why this acquisition could be the difference between a wild card exit and a legitimate Super Bowl run. Let me set the stage for you because context matters tremendously here. We're sitting at 5 wins and 3 losses at the midway point of the season, which is exactly where we need to be for a team with legitimate playoff aspirations. Caleb Williams is developing beautifully under Ben Johnson's system, showing the kind of progression that has us all incredibly excited about the future. Our rookie tight end, Colston Loveland, is starting to make those game-changing plays we envisioned when we drafted him, and Kyle Monangai is bringing a dimension to our rushing attack that we haven't seen in years. But here's the harsh reality that every Bears fan needs to understand. None of that offensive brilliance matters if our defense can't get off the field on 3rd down. None of those beautiful touchdown passes from Caleb mean anything if we're giving up 30 points per game because we can't generate consistent pressure on opposing quarterbacks. And right now, after what happened to Odeyingbo, we have a legitimate crisis brewing on our defensive front. When Odeyingbo's Achilles snapped against the Bengals, it wasn't just one player going down. It was our entire pass rush strategy taking a devastating hit. This was a guy who was finally coming into his own, who was starting to show why we invested in him, who was becoming a reliable presence off the edge. And now he's done for the season, leaving us with a massive hole that absolutely must be addressed if we're serious about making noise in January. Ryan Poles has built his reputation on being aggressive at the trade deadline. This isn't a general manager who sits back and hopes things work out. This is someone who understands that championship windows are finite, that when you have pieces in place like we do right now, you cannot afford to be passive. And with Ben Johnson making it crystal clear that he has zero interest in a slow rebuild, with him stating publicly that this team is built to win now, the pressure is on to make a move that gives our defense the juice it desperately needs. Now here's where things get absolutely fascinating from a strategic standpoint. There is a name that's been mentioned in connection with the Bears, a player whose skill set would be absolutely perfect for what we're trying to accomplish defensively. We're talking about someone who has consistently produced at an elite level, someone who opposing offensive coordinators have to game plan around every single week, someone whose presence alone would elevate everyone else on our defensive line. The Cincinnati Bengals are in a precarious position right now. They're sitting below 500, despite having one of the most talented rosters in the AFC. And they're facing some difficult decisions about their future. When teams find themselves in that situation, when the present isn't working out as planned and financial realities start pressing in, they begin evaluating which pieces might be expendable. And they have a defensive end who's been absolutely dominant, who's in the prime of his career, and who might be available for the right price. Let me give you some numbers that'll blow your mind. This player we're discussing has averaged over 12 sacks per season over the past 4 years. 12 sacks annually is elite production by any metric in today's NFL. We're talking about someone who has 57.5 career sacks, someone who has been selected to back-to-back Pro Bowls, someone who quarterback pressures and disrupted plays are just part of his weekly routine. Think about what that kind of player would do for our defense. Think about how it would change our entire defensive identity. Suddenly, opposing offensive coordinators can't just slide protection to one side. Suddenly, quarterbacks can't just step up in the pocket comfortably. Suddenly, our secondary gets the benefit of coverage sacks because the quarterback has to release the ball faster than he wants to. This is the kind of domino effect that one elite pass rusher creates. And here's what makes this potential acquisition even more intriguing from a strategic perspective. Ben Johnson's offense is built on possessing the football, on controlling time of possession, on making defenses chase us around the field for extended periods. When you pair that offensive philosophy with a defense that can get off the field quickly because it's generating consistent pressure, you create an absolutely suffocating combination that championship teams are built on. The financial aspect of this potential move is where things get complicated but also fascinating. Cincinnati is reportedly asking for significant compensation, possibly including a first-round pick, which is a substantial price to pay for any player regardless of their production. But here's my perspective on this, and I think it aligns with how championship organizations think about roster construction. You cannot put a price tag on a legitimate shot at winning it all. We have Caleb Williams on a rookie contract, which means we have financial flexibility that most competitive teams don't enjoy. We have the draft capital to make a bold move without completely mortgaging our future. And most importantly, we have a roster that's ready to compete right now, not 3 years from now. When all those factors align, when you have that perfect storm of circumstances, you have to be willing to push your chips to the center of the table. Now let's talk specifically about the player everyone's been discussing in these trade conversations. I'm talking about Trey Hendrickson, the Cincinnati Bengals' dominant edge rusher, who has been an absolute force of nature over the past several seasons. This is a 30-year-old defensive end who shows absolutely no signs of slowing down, who just posted 14 sacks last season and who's already got 7.5 sacks through 8 games this year. Hendrickson would bring everything we need to our defense. He's a technician who wins with speed, power, and an incredibly diverse pass rush repertoire. He can bull rush you straight back into the quarterback. He can speed rush around the edge. He's got the hand usage to defeat blocks, and he's got the motor that runs hot for all 4 quarters. These are the exact characteristics you need in a pass rusher who's going to be the focal point of your defensive front. The impact of adding Hendrickson would be immediate and profound. Our young defensive ends would benefit enormously from having a veteran presence who can mentor them, who can show them how professionals prepare, how they approach their craft. Our defensive coordinator would suddenly have the flexibility to be more aggressive with blitz packages, because he'd know he's got a guy who can win one-on-one matchups consistently. And our entire defense would feed off the energy that a dominant pass rusher brings to the field every Sunday. But here's where reality intersects with aspiration. The asking price from Cincinnati is steep, and there are legitimate questions about whether Ryan Poles is willing to meet that price for a player who's on the wrong side of 30 and has a market value projected at $133 million. Reports suggest that while the Bears are active in trade discussions, there's hesitation about making a truly splashy move that would cost premium draft capital. This is where we as fans have to grapple with a difficult question. Do we want our general manager to be conservative and protect future assets, or do we want him to be aggressive and maximize our current championship window? I know where I stand on this, and I think most Bears fans who've watched this team finally put together a legitimate contender feel the same way. You go for it. You make the move. You give this defense the elite pass rusher it needs to take the next step. The alternative is standing pat, hoping that lesser acquisitions or internal development can fill the void left by Odingbo's injury. And maybe that works out. Maybe we catch lightning in a bottle with a smaller move. But championship teams aren't built on maybe. They're built on calculated aggression, on recognizing opportunities and seizing them decisively. Looking at our remaining schedule, we've got winnable games coming up that could solidify our playoff position. We're facing the Giants next week as 3.5-point favorites, and then we've got a stretch that includes divisional matchups where defensive dominance could be the difference between winning the North and settling for a wild card spot. Having Trey Hendrickson in those games, having that elite presence terrorizing opposing quarterbacks, could legitimately be worth multiple wins. So here's my bottom line assessment on this situation. The Bears have a legitimate opportunity to add one of the premier pass rushers in the NFL at a time when our defense desperately needs that kind of impact player. Yes, the price is high. Yes, there are risks involved with any trade of this magnitude. But the potential reward, the possibility of transforming our defense and making a legitimate run at a championship with Caleb Williams in his rookie season, that's worth the cost. Now, I want to hear from you, Bears Nation. Do you think we should pull the trigger on a Trey Hendrickson trade? Are you comfortable giving up a first-round pick for a 30-year-old pass rusher? Or would you rather see Ryan Poles take a more conservative approach and build through the draft? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because this is a decision that could define our entire season. And if you're loving this kind of in-depth analysis and insider perspective on everything Bears, you absolutely need to subscribe to Bears News Fan Report right now. Hit that subscribe button, smash the notification bell, and join our community of passionate Bears fans who want real analysis, not just hot takes. We're bringing you daily updates, breaking news as it happens, and the kind of detailed breakdowns that help you truly understand what's happening with our team. Let's ride this season together all the way to the playoffs. Bears, down!